If you've ever faced any form of adversity, well, that officially qualifies you as a human. Welcome on into the Limitless Leadership Lounge for another tri-generational conversation for emerging leaders. We'll be discussing adversity in leadership and so much more coming up on this episode. And I'm really looking forward to bringing in a special guest today that Coach has introduced us all to. So without further ado, I'm John Gehring. Dr. Renuma Kareem is here from Heroes for All, also our sponsor for this great episode here of the Limitless Leadership Lounge. And then we have Coach Jim Johnson as well, who has brought on a guest. So Coach, would you introduce us to our guest here and let's get going today?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Thanks, John, to introduce. I consider him a friend, although, certainly I've had the opportunity to meet Chad through the National Speakers Association. I've also hired Chad. He's mentored me as a speaker. So I really feel really honored to have Chad on our podcast. He's done a lot of special things. I'll read a little bit about his bio. In the fact that it says, Chad inspires, motivates, and moves audience, creating an experience that touches hearts for a lifetime. He's one of the youngest ever to receive the Council of Peers Award for Excellence, CPAE, which is inducted in this prestigious National Speaker Hall of Fame. In 2001, at the age of 27, Chad's life changed in an instant when a 2,000-pound bale of hay shattered his neck, leaving him a quadriplegic. But Chad's dreams were not paralyzed that day. He became an example of what is possible. Chad is a best-selling author, president of his own communications company, and recognized as a world-class wheelchair athlete. In 2003, Chad set a world record by wheeling his chair from Salt Lake City to Las Vegas, 513 miles. Wow, that's staggering. Chad's speaking career in areas of leadership, team building, customer service, and mastering change has brought him in multiple honors. The other thing that I know that I really admire about Chad is I know how important his family is. So I know his most proud fact is the fact that he's a devoted husband to his longtime wife, Shondell, and he's a proud dad of 4 children, Christian, Kyler, Gracie, and Caleb. Chad, we're really happy to have you on the program. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Coach. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. So I'm going to start with the first question. Chad, you went through a really traumatic time in your life. And I know, knowing you somewhat, that, you were very happy in the life you were. You were working on a farm, you were married, things were going well. You had this traumatic injury that changes your life. My question to you is, how long did it take you to really realize, okay, I've got to make some adjustments? And then the second piece of that is, how did you actually go from working on a farm that you enjoyed immensely to becoming now this high-level world-class speaker?
So you're asking me a compound question, 2 totally different answers, and I'm fine with that. Let's see if I can hit this. So question number one, the realization, I think, when we experience a crisis or a pandemic, which I think we can all relate to right now, the demand for change is almost immediate. That doesn't mean we buy into the change. Just because the booster shot is there doesn't mean we're buying into the booster shot. Just because masks are mandated doesn't mean that we wear the mask. So change is inevitable. We all know that. The world's changing faster now than ever before. Where I live out in the Rocky Mountains, we've never gone through such a massive change where we don't have the water to water our fields, or we're going through an 11-year drought. The lakes have never been this low in the recorded history of time. So I knew, back to your question, I knew that I would have to change something, whether that was in the form of me adapting or suicide. I'm just going to be very, very bold, because some people like to refuse or go around the change, and that's an option for people to think of. I don't think it's a viable option at all, but the thought is always there, the thought of that. And so I knew I would have to change, because whether the changes live or not live or adapt to change, that happens instantaneously. Now, the choice to change, and where I started to see, deciding and then acting are 2 different things. Just because I decide I'm going to lose weight doesn't mean I'm going to lose weight. Just because I decide I'm going to be a nicer person doesn't mean I'm going to be a nicer person. So deciding that you're going to change and acting are 2 different things. I started to act on the change a few months later when I realized how much I was hurting people because of my poor attitude. So I hope that this makes sense to people. I knew I had to do something, whatever that was. I didn't know what I was going to choose yet, wrong or right. You know, if I was going to choose the wrong answer or the right answer, I hadn't decided that yet. But I knew quickly that I was hurting other people, and that's when I started to find some value in my life with my children and my wife, and maybe I could do this. And that took probably several months. And even today, Coach, if I'm just going to be honest with you, today, here we are 22 years post-injury. And, you know, yeah, I know we're all not perfect, but I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I mean, everybody gets old. Right. Growth has got to be an intentional process throughout our entire life. And so the day we stop growing should be the day that we die. So I'm still trying to figure things out and learn. And with that prognosis in mind, it makes every day kind of an exciting day. As far as the speaking thing goes, let's just make this one easy. I've always wanted to be a farmer. I just found a different way to do it. So I don't have to be stuck on 800 acres to farm. Today, I think my wheelchair that I'm sitting in now, that my tires have touched the ground of 89 countries and all 7 continents. And so I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying perspective is everything. Our perspective on our circumstance is everything. I mean, you know about illness and sickness and change. You're going through that in your own personal life. And I'm not saying anything that you haven't made public to everybody for people to know. I mean, people go through massive change. For those of us that refuse it, it'll be a much more painful experience. So I just have chosen to change my perspective on farming. And today I farm differently. I don't wear cowboy boots or the plaid shirts or the Wrangler jeans. I wear a butter cloth shirt that doesn't wrinkle and I can button it with my teeth. I wear jeans that are 2 sizes too big so I can slip them on with my teeth. And I don't wear cowboy boots. I wear shoes that I can slip on with my teeth, and I travel the world alone. And again, I'm not saying that to be arrogant or boastful. It's just perception and perspective is everything. And sometimes I think, Coach, we think too small. We think about, hey, this happened to me. Things like this don't happen to me. I shouldn't have to go through COVID. I shouldn't have to get the booster. I shouldn't have to go through this illness or this disease or this divorce or whatever it is that you're going through, the loss of a child. When in fact, you honor your life. You honor the losses of the crisis in your life by the way that you live your life moving forward. And so when I focus on that, boy, it just puts everything right into perspective. I mean,
true.
It is true. You honor your losses by the way you live your life moving forward. And that's you know what that's called? That's called passion.
Right.
Then you begin. It's no different than we talked about this heroes and in Bangladesh. That's a passion because you're trying to help people be more impactful, be an influence for the greater good in life. In Bangladesh and in the United States of America. I think it's incredible. I think it's awesome. So passion is a result of perspective that we have on our current circumstance and our situation. So I'm very passionate today about farming. I just farm people as well as animals, but I farm people and I'm very passionate about that.
Right. And it's so powerful. Thank you so much, Chad. No wonder Wall Street labels you as one of the top 10 inspiring individual in the world. You have so much wisdom to share, and especially because I work with young people, I see so many desperation, depression. There is so many kids now addicted to substance and all those kind of things. Mental health, that mindset, we are missing that among many young people. So I want to show them your perspective, like among younger people all over the world. So what kind of mindset they should be in? If you tell them, if I ask you to advise them, like when you are experiencing this tragedy, what kind of mindset you should develop or how you should develop, like 2 or 3 tips, like to overcome this. And moving forward is one thing that is so important, because I know that when I went through some crisis in my life, it was the action. Like I did not sit still and like wallowing, like why me, why it's happening to me, but I took action and moving forward. And as I moved forward, inches by inches, things were in perspective. So I would ask you to give some advice, because so many young people are now lost and need that advice. Like you have experienced the biggest tragedy, like you have been paralyzed, but still you did not give up. How do you get into that mindset?
I think
Yeah.
I think you answered. I think you said something very, very profound. You said why this happened to me, and I want you to know, doctor, I've never gotten a good answer to my question when I started with the word why. In fact, people that start their questions with the word why, I call them whiners. WHY-NERS. Why? Because they're always saying, why do I have to go through this? Why did this happen to me? Why did this tragedy? Why? A better way to ask a question is, what can I do with this experience? How can I benefit the life of somebody else? When can I start? And how can I make a difference? So ask a different question, or ask the same question, but start it with a different preface. Don't say why, but say how, what, when, and where. Now we begin the process of beginning to do something. And then a second piece of advice that I would give to people is to focus on what you can control and not on what you can't. I've lost my fingers and my hands. I can't change that. I've lost 95% of my body. I can't change that. But I can change the way that I hold my wife's hand. I can change the kind of food that I eat. I can change how I eat. I can change the kind of clothes that I wear. I can change how I teach my kids how to play ball. I can change how I drive a vehicle. I can change how I get dressed. I mean, when you focus on what you can control and not on what you can't, more comes to you in the process. Let me say it another way. I've lost 95% of my body. I mean, that's not a secret. I've lost, I'm pushing in a chair right now. Let me go to a different camera. See if we can see people, so we can do something a little bit different. Let's have some fun with this. So I have lost 95% of my body. So I can focus on the 95% that I've lost and be miserable because I've lost 95%, or I can focus on the 5% that I still have. And with that 5%, I found out how to push a chair, not an electric wheelchair, but push with numb hands, with knobby tires, with the 5%. So when you focus on what little you still have, I mean, look at third world countries, Bangladesh, look at the people that are successful in the United States. They've come from nowhere. Why? Because they know what it's like to have nothing. Instead of having everything at their fingertips, they started with 3%. And so they focus on that 3% and they start building at 3.5, 4, 4.3, 4.7, 5, 5.2. Notice something about those numbers. They increase and they grow incrementally, not by one big leap and bound, not from 5% to 100%, but so the same thing with me. I'm not getting any more feeling back, but I'm being more productive, 5% to 5.6 to 6.1 to 7.3 to 7.8. The numbers increase incrementally. So the third point is that I would share is the power of incrementalism. It's not about growing in exponential growth massively. It's about growing a little bit each and every day. And you do that by the little things you choose to think about and study and do every day. So just one example, the first thing I do every morning when I wake up is I find something to be grateful for so I can start my day off that way. Whatever it is, I want to start my day by being grateful for something, and I will find that. Whether that's being able to get dressed by myself, being grateful that I didn't have an accident during the night, being grateful that I was able to have something to eat that morning, where there are so many people that are being thrust out of their homes and looking for something to eat in the Middle East, where they're being evaded from Ukraine, and things that are happening. I'm not here to talk about politics. I'm just saying that you look at what's happening around the world. I am thankful that I have my home. I'm thankful that my farm is not being bombed. I'm not here talking about politics. I'm just saying I am thankful today that I still live in a country that provides me the freedom to, be able to choose.
And
so
we take it for granted. And we take it for granted.
And again, I agree with that concept. I just some people hear the word for granted so many times that it becomes mundane to them. So I just try and make it more personal by saying, I'm just grateful that I live in a place where I've been to Ukraine, I've been to Russia, and they're at odds, and so many good people in both countries. And I'm not here to talk about war because I don't know much about it and I can't stop it. I can't control that, but I can control the war in my own mind, and I can control the war in my own house, and I can control the conflict in my house, and I can control the conflict on the ranch. And so I try and focus on what I can control and not on what I can't. And with that, I can be a person of, I can be an emerging leader.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
I can be someone of impact. So I hope that
Absolutely.
answers your question.
And
Yeah.
it's thank you so much, because for my dissertation, I interviewed acid attack survivors whose face was disfigured by guys who threw acid at their face. And some of the girls, they mentioned like they were so lively and positive. And I was saying like, how are they doing it? And they were saying that we were in a comfort zone. We would have been gotten married and have family and all those things, but made no changes. But the attack made us realize that we have something to do. And they became female advocates, female advocacy against acid violence, reducing the violence. They made an identity. And they were saying that if this life crisis didn't happen, we wouldn't have known what we are able to do. So sometimes I think comfort zone, when you challenge your comfort zone, those are the moments where that can also define you to become who you are.
Right. I think you're absolutely right. Spot on.
You talk about Chad, you talk about controlling what you can control. Clearly you did that. You rode in your wheelchair 531 miles. That's longer than a Tesla can run on a battery. You know, it's unbelievable how much
I could have
you've
probably used one of those.
yeah, how much you've accomplished physically. Could you talk about that process a little bit of what the training your body was like and how long that took and how rewarding it was to make that trip?
Yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to that powered increment, and I'm still learning how to train my body. As I'm getting older, my body changes. I think we all go through that. You don't have to be paralyzed to go through changes in your body. All of us go through that. You're a young buck, but as you get older, the body changes, and I'm still adapting as my body gets older. Coach, you can identify with this as well. Our bodies change. We get older and things happen to us, and we have to adapt to those changes, or we live in misery. As we talk about the marathon and the power of incrementalism, I can tell you that 4 days into that marathon, I gave up. I gave up on the marathon. I'd had enough. I was on my way to Las Vegas, and it's kind of like the movie Forrest Gump, where he's running from ocean to ocean and border to border, and out of nowhere he just stops and says, "I think I'll go home now." That's what I did. I stopped and I said, I think I'll go home now. And I'll never forget my dad coming out, and he said this. He said, "Son, you want to go home?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm just tired. I mean, who would fault me, Dad? Really, I've gone further than I thought that I would go. I know I didn't hit my goal, but I'm just burnt out." He said, "Okay, I'll take you home. But let's go back in the motor home back here, and we'll tell the police cars to stop, and everybody will stop, and you can come in the motor home, and let's get you some Gatorade and ice you down a little bit. And I'd like to talk to you for a second." So he picked me up and he carried me back to the motor home and sat me down, and I was crying, and he said, "Son, how are you measuring your success?" And I said, I don't understand what you're asking me." He said, how are you measuring how far you've come?" And I said, "Well, I know what cities I've come to, and I know how far away we are." And he said, no, but how do you know how far you've come? Like what are you using as a measuring tool? I said, "Well, I'm looking at the green signs on the other road, so I know how many miles I've gone." He said, I've seen you do that. You're counting every green sign, and they're not coming fast enough anymore, are they?" I said, "No, Dad, it's taking forever to get to the next green number, the next mile marker." He said, "Why don't you start counting the yellow stripes in the middle of the road? If you would like, son, but I'll support whatever you want. If you want to go home, I'll take you home. But if you want to give it one more go, I'll take you back out there, and let's count those yellow stripes together." So I did that. And I went out there and I stopped looking at the green signs, and I started looking at those yellow stripes, and I just started counting those. And it was kind of rewarding to see me pass those yellow stripes. And I did that first night, I counted 2,300 stripes. The next day, over 8,000 stripes. And in fact, I think I got a picture I can share with the whole group. This is kind of a cool shot. I'll share a couple of them. You guys will eat this up. I love this shot. Here it is. So we'll put this on Facebook Live. There's me counting the stripes. I'll make it bigger.
Uh-huh.
I'll make it bigger.
And
wow.
I just count the yellow stripes right in the middle of the road. They got police escort. And when I when I went through Las Vegas, let me see if I can pull up something else here.
Mhm.
Thanks for your guys' patience. I apologize.
Yeah, no
we
problem.
loved it.
I want you to
Yeah.
see this. I just think it carries a lot of credibility and a lot of weight with what we're trying to share.
Yeah.
When I crossed that finish line at the Mirage, people were coming out of the hotels, the casinos to cheer me on. There's the motorhomes back there. Now, granted, all the people were drunk, but I didn't care. They were doesn't matter. They were drunk. They were there to cheer me on. And I
Right.
realized something. What I realized is what my dad said was true. While the grand events have a reward that comes with them, it's the little things that make the biggest difference in our lives.
Mhm.
Somebody doesn't write a book in a day. And it's been
Right.
said that leadership doesn't happen in a day, it happens daily, right? So emerging leaders, it happens by the little things that we do every single day. Leadership doesn't happen by a title given to you.
True.
Just because you're a parent doesn't make you a good one. You have to demonstrate that by the little things you do every day with your children. Just because you're giving a PhD doesn't make you a good doctor. It's the
That's
little
true.
things that you do every day to
Mhm.
help people live a healthier, better mindset life. It's the small contributions that we help people out to help them have a greater confidence, a greater self-esteem. And so it's the reasons that I share through those pictures that helped me accomplish that goal and ultimately set that world record, which still holds true today. I mean, it's been,
Wow.
gosh, 20 years, and
Wow.
it will be broken because records are meant to be broken. And I can promise you this: when that record is broken, I will be the first person there to congratulate that person because I knew what it took mindset wise to get there.
Mhm.
Right.
That's habit forming, right? I mean, that's all habit forming that you're talking about. What are some of the habits that you formed early on to set yourself up for such a successful record breaking ride?
Yeah, I think again, habits. I do a few things on a regular basis. Again, first and foremost, what can I be grateful for? I must hang around people that are stronger, faster, and quicker than me. Coach, you taught this in basketball. In order for a basketball player to be stronger, faster, and quicker, he must play against people that are
Yes.
stronger,
faster,
faster,
and
quicker
quicker.
than him.
Yeah.
That's how you scale a freshman.
Yep.
That's how you grow a freshman to play from the freshman level to a senior level at the senior level as a freshman. He's got to play against somebody. He's got to play at that much higher level.
Right.
So I've got to hang around people that are always thinking stronger thoughts, that are stronger than me, that have more wisdom. So I'm always reading people that have greater wisdom, people that have gone through different experiences. So I'm always asking myself or asking other people, who have you talked to that I should meet? What book should I read that you've read that I haven't read? Who should I connect with today that I've never connected with that can share with me some wisdom or that I should become friends with? You know, what can I do to offer to them? Well, how can I assist them? What can I do to give back? And so when we ask ourselves those questions, they become habits, and you become stronger because you're developing those habits.
Right. And I have a question. You talked about your father. So he must have been a big like inspiration or like a force that were pushing you to your best self. So how important is for a leader to have that team around you who can push you, who can believe in you and make you better? So the importance of team in your life. Can you be a successful leader all by yourself, alone? But you need the people around you.
So we are always better together than we are individually.
Hmm.
We are always better together than we are individually. And there's no better example than that of perhaps the greatest team that I've ever witnessed and watched and studied. Are you okay if I share it with you?
Please.
Sure.
Yeah, please do.
It's going to be a little different, Coach. When people think of teams, sometimes they'll think of sporting teams, like maybe the Fab Five or the Chicago Bulls, you know, and their 5, 6, 7 championships, right, with Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman. Me, I just think of geese. Geese.
Geese.
And you know I live on a farm, Coach, and I've studied a lot about geese. Watch what they do. I'll share it with you.
Mm-hmm.
This is unreal. Absolutely unreal. And thanks for letting me share this with your listeners.
No, please.
Yeah, no problem. We're looking forward to it.
watch this. As they flap their wings, they increase the value of their other family members by over 70% when they stay in formation. So we should go to work and flap our wings to increase the value of over 70% in our families and our workplaces. As geese flap and they stay in formation, they increase the value of over 70%. We must share a common direction. There we go. That's called values. We should all adhere to that. In the United States, it's called the Constitution. We should adhere to that. We should abide by that. Freedom of speech, the freedom to be able to share religion without anybody picking one race better than the other. Nobody better than the other. If we fall out of formation, everybody else feels the drag of that. So we have to stay in the same formation and get others. That doesn't mean you always have to have the same beliefs, but it does mean we have to respect other people's beliefs. I'm on the far left, paralyzed. I got team all around me holding me in place. I'm on the far left, paralyzed, flying in the air. And I've got people flying Canada. There's my younger son pulling my older son up the mountain. Look at that. My younger son pulling my older son up the mountain. When a lead goose gets tired, they turn it over to the emerging leader. When a lead boss gets tired, they turn it over to the emerging leader to teach him how to lead. Take turns doing the hard tasks. Geese do this greatly. And I love this. When they talk, when they honk, they don't say any swear words. So if you're going to honk, make it positive. If you're going to talk, make it positive. Make it encouraging. And God forbid if somebody gets sick or a goose flies out or if you lose somebody, remember you honor your losses by the way you live your life moving forward. When a geese is shot down, another goose falls out of formation and then they get back into formation quickly. When we lose something in our life, we must honor that loss by the way we live our life moving forward. Geese demonstrate that. These are all geese that come on our property. Every year, I tag them, I put GoPro cameras on them, I watch them very closely. And it wraps up right here. They're leading right there, that's our backyard, that's the water, that's our backyard. And they're flying to Cancun. They're getting in formation to make a 15,000 mile, not a 500 mile like I put,
Wow.
a 15,000 mile trip
15,000. Wow.
in about 7 days. That's
Beautiful.
incredible. All
That's
because they hang around good geese. They stay in
Exactly.
formation. They understand it better than humans. We
Oh,
fight
yeah.
about it. We fight. They don't fight about it. They stay in formation.
right.
I wonder if we could do that.
Such a powerful lesson. Thank you so much, Chad, for sharing that. It was beautiful.
But
Thank
Chad,
you.
delving into what a powerful story that was. You know, you've done a lot of work with leaders all over the world. What would be a couple characteristics that you found that you believe help the best leaders become really highly effective?
You'll appreciate this, Coach. I kind of like to do this. So you said characteristics of good leaders. Well, one of the best leaders I've ever met played for the Dallas Mavericks. He taught me some things. In the locker room there, that's Dirk.
Dirk.
And I went to speak to the team there before their championship game. And I mean, everybody can get a basketball, but good leaders, they always drop to the level of others. So you have a 7'4" forward that dropped to a 4'2" position. Look at that. He dropped to my level, Coach. I didn't ask him to do that. Leaders always drop to the level of other people to bring them up. He dropped to my level, and I did not ask him to do that. That's a characteristic. And then he did something that I never. He took the shoes off his feet and he gave them to me. Coach, I did not ask for that. I didn't want them. They weigh 70 pounds each. I didn't want those shoes. They're size 19. I want you to know, Coach, that I read a story in a book once where a lady gets her hair wet and she washes off a guy's feet with her hair.
Wow.
She gets her. Now, I'm not saying you have to believe the story. I'm just saying I think it's an incredible story of leadership. She
Right.
wets her hair with oil and she washes off a guy's feet. What's she trying to demonstrate? Humility, respect. That guy took the shoes off his feet and he gave them to me and he asked me to take care of him until we started walking together again.
Wow.
That was
Wow.
incredible to me. Leaders always find a place to help others walk on their level. And there's the team. There's the team
Mhm.
owned by Mark Cuban. There's Coach Carlisle right there. There's Dirk right there. There's Steph Curry's brother right there. And Mark Cuban, who's the owner. There he is right there in the green hat. There he is.
Mhm.
Wow.
You're only as good as a team that you're surrounded by. So surround yourself with good people. Characteristics of leadership. They surround themselves with people that can help them become better leaders.
Right. Right.
So I like to use a lot of pictures and stuff to demonstrate what's happened to me to help me become better. Rather than me just tell you, I like to show it to you on the screen.
Yeah, and that's so powerful. Sometimes these stories, the pictures, these are the one that resonates with people and they can connect. So along this line, I was wondering, like, we always hear about growth mindset. So, and there is this saying that success is 20% strategy and 80% mindset. So in your life at this position, position, how would you define success? What is success to you?
Success is very simple for me. It's not money. Success is knowing that those that are closest to you love and care about you the most. End of
Mm.
story. Success is knowing that those that know you the most love and care about you the most. And if you don't have those people on your side,
Right.
you're doing something wrong.
Mhm.
If I don't have my kids and my wife on my side, I'm doing something wrong.
True.
So that's all success is. If those that know you the deepest in your darkest moments
Mm.
are having a challenge with you, you might want to take a hard look in the mirror
Mhm.
and see what you can do to change in order to avoid similar outcomes that aren't good outcomes in the future.
Right.
That's success for me.
Right.
Very
And
powerful.
so powerful. Yeah, Coach, go ahead. You had a question.
Yeah, actually, Chad, because you've said so many beautiful things. Take us now for, because we talk a lot about young and emerging leaders, someone that's just starting out. You gave some great wisdom there, but what have you seen go in the opposite way of people that take over a team or organization where they struggle? What are some of the downfalls of leaders when they start a new position?
They know it all. They lack confidence. There's a difference between confidence and cockiness, right? Confidence that they can do the job. So it's confidence. You can have a confident player go out on the court and make mistakes. That's okay. So it's
Right.
okay to make mistakes. Remember, it's not about making a mistake. It's how quick they get back.
Mm.
Get back. Right. You've taught that for years, Coach. That's why you're
Right.
successful at it. So
Yeah.
that's what you're watching. You're watching how quickly they get back in a game. It doesn't matter if they dribble the ball out of bounds or if they make a bad pass. It's, hey, how quickly do they get back their mindset? And you're watching that. They're not going to get yanked out of the game for getting back up and say, hey, that one's on me. I got it. I've learned. I'm going to get back into it. I also think that the best leaders who are just starting out, they do something incredible. They dish out assists. That's why I love this photograph so much. Sorry, Coach, I just keep going to photographs.
I love it.
When they say a picture paints 1,000 words.
There's me and my two boys right before the accident.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
So,
Now
Yeah.
that's before the accident. That's before the paralysis. That's before. That picture is 22 years old. Notice that my arm's wrapped around his rib cage. Because if I let go of him, he's going to fall.
Mhm.
Notice the other boy is wrapped around my neck. That's the place that I would break. And my arm's wrapped around his legs, the very place that I would lose. Today, I'm the one that doesn't have legs and I don't have balance. So the best part about that is the way that they've changed. I'm going to go to black screen and I'm going to bring it up right here. There it is. Hey, Dad, we got you covered, Dad. Just put your arms around us, Dad. Dad, we're going to carry you, Dad, to the front row of the basketball game, Dad. Front row seats, Dad. Dad, we're going to carry you to the truck, Dad. Dad, we're going to go to the movies, and you're going to sit front row with Mom, Dad.
Wow.
So why do I relate that to leadership and emerging leaders? They dish out assists, Coach. Your best players make everybody else around them better. Your best players don't score the most points. They don't average the most rebounds. Your best leaders, your best players, they make everybody else around them better. So the question that we should ask emerging leaders and ask ourselves is this: are the people that I meet during the day and that I work with, are they better because I'm with them? Or can they do their job just fine without me? Is the podcast good with all three of you? Or could they be just fine with one of you missing? I would hope the answer would be the first one. We need to have everybody on board.
Right.
That's right. Is my family excited to see me come home from a road trip, or do they not care because I'm always flying? I should ask myself that. Is my wife, is she happier when I'm with her watching a movie, or would she rather watch the movie alone? I should ask myself that. We should ask ourselves as emerging leaders, what can we do to dish out assists to make everybody else around us stronger because we're part of the team? That's what separates successful emerging leaders versus emerging leaders that are put there because of a title or entitlement. Okay, that's what separates them. They must go and make people around them better.
Yeah, Chad, I'm
that's
wondering
how I feel about my boys.
Yeah, that's great. I'm wondering, you ask yourself a lot of questions. I'm picking up the theme that to you, internal reflection is so important, but it's always based on a growth mindset. What do you do when you have a temptation to ask yourself a question with a why? You know, you want to be that one.
Happens. I have not mastered that. Happens all the time. Happened yesterday. I had some people that didn't want to help me get off a plane. And I started to ask myself, you know, why does this have to happen? Why do I have to go through this? Why? And it's okay to do that. It is okay to do that. Here's what I have found. I don't want to stay in that question very long. So I want you all to know that are watching this via Facebook Live and the podcast, and it's going to come out in future video episodes.
Right.
It's okay to ask why. Just don't stay stuck there. I got out of it real quick and I said, okay, what can we do different? Who can I find? Where can they be? How can I approach this situation differently? And within a matter of 3 minutes, I had a couple of other people came up and say, hey, whatever you need, I got you covered. I just had to be more patient. And I was being very impatient yesterday. Very, very impatient. Sometimes leadership requires patience.
True.
Let things transpire. Let some things take care of themselves, put themselves in a place of potential, and then you begin the process. So sometimes we get to be such in a rush and we want things to happen now, and it doesn't always happen like that. And it happened to me yesterday in Las Vegas. And I started to ask why. When I developed the patience that I needed, it only took 3 minutes, and people showed up, and I was able to get the help that I needed. And so there's another principle right there. Yoke people's strengths to compensate for your weaknesses. Whether that's physical strength, mental strength. If you're going through depression, suicidal thoughts, call the suicide hotline. Allow other people. There's no shame in that.
Exactly.
There's no shame at all. No, there's no shame in that at all. Call the suicide hotline and let other people just help share their thoughts and ideas. That's all they're doing. You don't have to share your name. You don't have to share your phone number. Let other people. Can I just tell you that's how I get through life? I get through life not because I'm stronger, not because I have more money, not because I'm better. I'm using other people's strengths to compensate for my weaknesses. And about 3 hours from now, I'm going to get on an airplane. I am not able to get up and walk on that airplane. Somebody else's strength is going to help me get on that airplane. So utilize other people's strengths to help you compensate for where you're weak at. And I am weak in a lot of areas, So I try and surround myself with people that have strengths in those areas to compensate for that weakness.
Right. And we have to accept our weaknesses. We have to also understand where we are weak, so we can find those people who can complement us. So this is so important for leadership. I'm not good with finance, so I have somebody who is excellent with finance and help me with the accounting part. So I need those people. And with John, once John was missing from our podcast, and me and Coach, we were feeling like empty, like, oh, we need his voice, we need him. So that is, we are complementing each other. So it's so important. And thank you so much for highlighting that. And I see so many people are now experiencing that learned helplessness. And often they try to hide behind like, oh, I don't want to experience failure. So that's why I am like this, and I will continue like this and continue being miserable or obese, or they know that if they take an action, things will change. So what is your take on those people who hide behind like, I don't want to fail, behind that idea of being perfect? I just want to be perfect. That's why I don't even try new things. So what are your take on that? I have seen so many people who have potential, but not going there because they have implemented that, no, I cannot do that, or I will look bad if I fail on doing that.
So a couple things. This podcast and this Facebook Live is great. I have a saying that we say, it's not my saying, but it's one that I love to live by. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink. That's what we're doing essentially right now. We're trying to share some good ideas, but we can't make other people do what we're talking about. We need to recognize that. Some people have called me a motivational speaker. I don't believe in such a term. I don't agree with it at all. We're going to be done with this episode here in a few minutes. Who has to make the changes when we hit stop on the Facebook Live? Everybody else that's watching. The nurses, they helped me with my body when I was in the hospital. The doctors fixed my broken neck, and my therapist taught me how to use numb hands. They all went home at 5 o'clock at night. Who had to motivate who when they all went home? I did. So we have to recognize that this is not something we can help give some knowledge and some wisdom, which is what we're doing now. But the true motivators aren't you and I. It's not those of us that are on the call. It's everybody else that's watching. And they're going to have to do that. And they have to make that choice. That's what's so great about the country where we live. It's called agency. It's their freedom to choose. And all we can do is do the best we can and hope for the best. And then there's also another saying where practice makes perfect. I've heard that. That's the stupidest quote in the world. Practice doesn't make perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. So why do you try and be? Practice makes progress. Practice makes progress, not perfect. And one more thing I will say, and this is the most powerful one, stop comparing yourself to other people. When I compare myself to other people that walk, I am miserable, unhappy, unsuccessful, and depressed.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So comparison is the thief of all joy.
Oh, yeah.
When I focus on what I can do, I'm more happy, more productive. I am a better dad, I'm a better husband. So focus on what I can. Again, back to that power of focus. I need to just do what I can do and try and become better at what I've been gifted at doing. And when I do that, I've been able to take an experience of a crisis, a pandemic, and turn it into something that I never dreamed of. And
Right.
I kind of like that. I can coach and I can teach people how to do a layup without jumping off the left foot and shooting with the right hand. I don't have to shoot a foul shot to teach somebody how to shoot a foul shot. I don't have to physically shoot a three-pointer to teach somebody how to shoot a three-pointer. There are certain principles that allow them to do that, and I can do that by several ways. So there are several ways to go about a single problem to solve the problem. Not one way, several ways. So stop comparing yourself. I'm going to say this boldly. God didn't make you to be like other people, so stop looking at other people and comparing yourself to other people. I am at my worst when I compare myself to other people. I'm at my very worst when I compare myself to other people.
Yeah, I
Ed,
stopped
I have one
comparing.
I have one final question from me. I'm curious because you mentioned, the importance to having a great team around you. And I know one of the things you shared was, help with people having strengths where you have weaknesses. What would be a couple other qualities of people you'd be looking for to be on your team?
Again, so qualities of people to be on my team or people that I surround myself with. It's not necessarily those, it's people that are doing things that I would like to do, that I'm capable of doing, or maybe even that I don't think that I'm capable of doing, but their attitude depicts that I can get to know. It's been said that you're the average of the 5 that you hang around the best. If that's the true statement, if you're at the average of 5, then you might want to pick 5 people that are doing better in all areas: spiritually, health, financial, mental health, well-being, spirituality. Pick people that, if I want to study my scriptures more, I should probably hang around my wife because she reads her scriptures every day. If I want to hang around people that are doing better in the industry that I've chosen, I might want to research and look and see what other people are doing in that industry to have a greater influence on the world, so that I can maybe have a greater influence myself. So when I pick people, not that are average, but pick people that are doing things that I would like to do, that I'm able to do, that I'm not doing already. And when I find those people, I'm gonna follow them. I'm gonna research them. I'm gonna look them up on LinkedIn. I'm gonna look them up on Instagram. I'm gonna follow them to a T. I'm gonna look at good news. I'm gonna look at positive things on Instagram and different videos that I can watch. Not necessarily funny things, or not necessarily dangerous things, but things that inspire life into me. That's what I'm gonna look for.
Right.
It's Chad Hymas, and unbelievable points today about overcoming adversity, about continued growth. Incremental growth is, I think, a great term that you brought up today, that we can all strive for little incremental growth, from that little percentage to slightly higher each day. And the day we stop growing is the day that we die, hopefully. And that's all really powerful. I can't wait to release this episode and just hear the reaction from our listeners and viewers, because I know they will be so moved by what you have had to share with us today. So thank you so much. Finally, as we wrap up, how do we learn more about your story? How do we even try to get in touch with you and your team?
I'll do this. So when we do our release, let me know a day in advance. Give me a day in advance notice, and let's give everybody a free copy of the best-selling. So I've got a couple of books that are bestsellers that have sold over 7 million copies. Let's give everybody a free copy of that. And everybody, I don't care who gets it, everybody a free copy, and everybody a free copy of the movies that have been made on our story. Beautiful. And you can do that by going to Chad Hymas, ChadHymas, ChadHymas. In fact, I'll show it to you right here. So there it is. Just go to that right there. There's my name, and go to Instagram, and we will download it. And your password is going to be emerge, emerge, EMERGE. And we will set this up 24 hours before the release, and I'll give you 24 hours to download it. Instagram is going to be your best place. Facebook is their second best place. LinkedIn is your third, and YouTube is your final. So that's where you go to download it all, and we will set it up for 24 hours. You can download it. It's like $800. You can have it all for free. Wow. I'll give it to you for free. So that'll be the.
Thank you so much. It's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
wow.
Guys.
That's very generous of you. We really appreciate it, Chad. Thank you for coming on with us today.